public school. She's raised 2 sons, Josh and Jeff, and she raised a husband as well, Richard, 32 years. Several years ago, Cathy was able to tour the battlefields of Normandy, where thousands of U.S. soldiers poured themselves out, giving their lives for the Allied forces during World War II. Walking among the thousands of simple white crosses was a life-changing event for Cathy, furthering her interest and passion for our country and our military. Please help me welcome Cathy Cochran.
How am I doing? Awesome. You know, before I get started, I would just really like for everyone to give a round of applause to Jason and Sally Weber for their vision and inspiration in doing this. And it's just a wonderful thing, and we need to thank you. Being asked to speak here today on this occasion is truly one of the greatest honors of my life. So much has been said in so many great and eloquent ways through the years to honor our fallen heroes that I feel quite inadequate to add anything except my heartfelt love and appreciation for the men and women of our armed forces. Looking back, I can point to 3 things that account for my love and appreciation of our military. The first is family. My father served in the Pacific in World War II, and my mother's brother was a medic in the European theater. My brother served in the National Guard, and I have a son who is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. So I grew up looking up to the men of my father's generation and supporting those of my brothers and sons. Secondly, seeing the movie Saving Private Ryan took my love of the military to a whole new level. It wasn't because of the great storyline or plot, but rather the graphic battle depictions. The techniques used by Spielberg to film those scenes made watching the movie, I believe, as near as one can get to experiencing combat without actually doing so. And it changed me. I came away from that viewing amazed and asking myself, how were they able to do that? As many of you know, the invasion forces at Omaha Beach faced many challenges. A number of the landing craft opened for landing too early and sank. Many soldiers drowned before they even had a chance to defend themselves. Other landing craft were disabled by enemy fire too far from shore, and the heavily burdened soldiers had to try to swim ashore during a firefight. The invading American forces who reached the beach were easy targets from the cliffs. And it's no wonder that casualties were higher there than on any of the other invasion beaches that day. But by the end of the day, the beachhead had been secured by a group of brave and determined soldiers. Seeing such a realistic portrayal of those events caused me to think deeply about the men on those boats heading into the very face of evil, knowing what they were going into, but not knowing how it would turn out for them. Victory or defeat, injury or death. Most certainly, their lives were never the same after that experience. It also reminded me of Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane knowing what he was going into, but he knew how it would end. The third thing that deeply affected me was my tour of the D-Day beaches and the American cemeteries in northern France. Richard and I have had the good fortune to travel quite a bit. We've been to Europe on 3 separate occasions, and we've seen many of the great sites and locations. And we count ourselves blessed for having done and seen these things. And all of these things awed and impressed us. But nothing so affected us as our tour of the Normandy battlefields in the quiet little town of Bayeux, France. We went to St. Mary Glades, where the paratrooper hung from a church steeple while the battle raged beneath them. We visited Utah Beach and were relieved to see a concrete German gun emplacement that has since been turned into a bathroom. We walked among the bomb craters on Point Du Hoc, where those brave Rangers scaled the cliffs on D-Day. And we stood on Omaha Beach, where the sand was red with the blood of the thousands who died there on that fateful day of June 6, 1944. On Omaha Beach, we saw people sunbathing and swimming. And our first thought was, what a sacrilege! This is sacred ground. But then we quickly realized that that is what they were fighting for, so that people could go to the beach and live out their lives in freedom and peace. And finally, walking among the rows and rows of white crosses and stars of David, drove home the truth that freedom isn't free. So the question that haunted me as I left the theater after viewing Saving Private Ryan remained: how were they able to do that? How and why could they overcome their fear and face down such evil? Maybe it was because they knew that what they were fighting for was so much more important than what they were going through. A way of life that is uniquely American.